It's an unstoppable day, family. Hey, welcome to another broadcast of the Next Level Living Show with Coach Terrance, where we talk to ordinary people doing extraordinary things to live their life on the next level. I'm your host, Terrance, the Unstoppable Coach Leffridge with Unstoppable Coaching Services here in Chicago. And I thank you for joining this broadcast, whether you're joining it live or whether you're joining the replay of the Next Level Living Show. Our goal is to inspire you. Our goal is to educate you. Our goal is to motivate you. And ultimately, our goal is to show you that it's possible to move to the next level of your greatness in whatever it is you do. And we do that by bringing in inspiring guests, ordinary people with extraordinary stories, where they talk about their trials, their tribulations, their successes, and where they are right now, in an effort to let someone out there know that you too can make it through just by hearing somebody else's story of going from tribulation to triumph. So we thank you for spending a little bit of time with us tonight on the Next Level Living Show. And as always, we want you to join us in the broadcast. Yes, the Next Level Living Show is interactive. And if you just look above you in the presentation right now, you'll see these small little buttons, these little social media buttons. They're, not really big time thing, but, some social media thing called Facebook, little thing, maybe couple of billion people that are on it, a little button called Twitter, maybe another 100 million people on that one, and LinkedIn, maybe about 500,000 highly motivated business owners, all able to connect with you. And you're able to connect with them by simply clicking on that button and letting them know you're watching this highly motivational show called the Next Level Living Show with Coach Terrance. Once you go ahead and click one of those buttons and share who you are and that you're watching this great programming that you can only get on the internet. You don't get this kind of programming on the network channels, ABC, NBC, CBS. No, they're trying to entertain you, but we're trying to entertain you, educate you, and motivate you so that you not only leave entertained, but you leave inspired to go be unstoppable. So click one of those buttons and let somebody know that you're watching the Next Level Living Show, and we've got a great guest for you tonight. Also, if you look below the picture right now, you can see the words where you can really interact with us in the Next Level Living Show Facebook chat room. Go there, give us your name, where you're from, and any takeaways that you're getting from the broadcast, and we'll be sure to share that information with our guests tonight. So just sit back, get your favorite beverage. I've got my water here. Get your pen, get your notepad, or get your trusty recording device, because we're going to give you some information that's going to move you to the next level of your greatness tonight. And we've got a great guest to provide that information to you. So this powerful woman reached out to me through social media. I am the Unstoppable Coach, and I was looking for a few unstoppable women and a few unstoppable men to share their story, to tell the world what they were doing to live their life on the next level. So I posted that on social media. And boy, why did I do that? Because this firecracker of a woman that we're going to introduce you tonight, she jumped all over it, and her response just blew me away. So let me just take a couple of seconds to read to you just a little bit of what her response was. And so she said, when I said I was looking for an unstoppable woman, she said, "Good afternoon, Mr. Leffridge. I'd like to introduce myself. I'm a wife, mother, school principal, Army veteran, and a business owner. I've experienced the trials, tribulations, and rewards that each role brings. I personally relate to women who've experienced transitions and wondered about what is their true purpose. And as a certified personal development coach, a licensed desired map facilitator, and a leadership mentor. I also bring to sessions 20 plus years of experience in education, leading groups, and addressing women youth issues. Unstoppable? Question mark. Yes! Exclamation point. And still spreading my wings. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce to you a lovely lady who is unstoppable and still spreading her wings and teaching you how to find the joy in the journey to spreading your own wings. This lovely lady goes by the name of Dr. Janae Bishop out of the great state of Georgia. And why don't we bring her onto the broadcast right now? Dr. Janae, are you on the broadcast?
Hey there, Coach Lethbridge. Here I am, Janae Bishop. Thank you for having me this evening.
Hey, thank you so much for taking a little bit of your time on this evening to share the joy of the journey with our listeners. So, as I always start off, I want to jump right into it by asking you this key question that I ask every one of our guests on the Next Level Living show. And that is, Dr. Janae, what does it mean to you to be living life on the next level?
Oh, that's an awesome question. I've enjoyed listening to responses from previous guests that you've had. In my opinion, living on the next level for me is to live authentically. And oftentimes, the different seasons that we go through in our lives, we may be feeling less authentic at one season than we do at others. But to me, living on that next level is to be completely authentic and being able to live your life on purpose.
I love it. And authentic is one of the key things that I talk about in my book, You Are Unstoppable. It's the A in the word unstoppable. And I think when we are authentic in what it is we do and how we do it, we can't help but being awesome. And we can't help but let that authenticity spread all over the people that we come in contact on a daily basis.
Absolutely.
So I'm glad you like that word, and I'm glad you use that word in your daily living.
Thank you. Thank you. It really means a lot to me. And even in working with young children and working with teachers, it's important to be able to convey that to everyone that comes across our path. Be authentic, because life is no dress rehearsal. This is it.
I love it. Life is not a just dress rehearsal. So, Dr. Janae, take a couple of minutes and tell us a little bit about you. Who is Dr. Janae?
Oh, yes. Well, I'm a girl from the projects in New York City. My parents raised myself as the oldest child and the only girl. I have two younger brothers. My parents have been married for now 54 years, and they really instilled in my brothers and I a desire for learning, as well as being able to make our mark in the world. My background, though, revolves around the fact that I didn't realize that I was poor until I went to college and was eligible for certain financial aid. But what that does, though, to a young person is it helps them to realize you can make it in this world regardless of how you start. In fact, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And I do believe that to whom much is given, much is required, and we're all required to make our mark in the world. So after graduating out of high school, I knew that the only way I was going to be able to go through college would be to pay for it. And I'm sure a lot of listeners out there can appreciate that as well. So one way that I was able to pay for college was to be able to join the military. So I was an officer in the military for 13 years. I served in Desert Storm. That was my only active duty time. The one beautiful thing that the military did for me was I met the love of my life, my husband, and we've been married for 28 years, and we have two sons. And so when you take into account being a military officer, being a wife, having two sons, that in and of itself creates transitions in your life. But while we were stationed at Fort Bragg, the opportunity was afforded me to work on getting my master's degree in guidance and counseling. And I had the amazing experience of working with people who were trying to live sober lives. That opportunity, by the time we transferred to Augusta, Georgia, led me to having an opportunity of also working at an Aiken alcohol and drug abuse center, where I had the opportunity to work with young teen moms who were trying to stay clean off of drugs while also being able to have effective parenting skills. And I'm sure that you and your audience can be very well aware how difficult that may be. Well, the blessing in that experience, because at this time I was a reserve officer, and I had the opportunity of doing public affairs work as well as being in finance. But in my civilian life, working with these young women was so inspiring. And it reminded me that there before the grace of God go I. Growing up in New York in the inner city, anyone's path could have gone in a different direction, and I could have been one of those young ladies. Well, in the course of working with these young women, I had an opportunity to meet someone who worked at the Augusta Child Advocacy Center. This program was phenomenal. It was a nonprofit program whose responsibility was to work with young kids who have been abused, most of them sexually abused. And so God led me to work with this agency, and the opportunity to work as a child advocate. I was a forensic interviewer. I was able to work with these young people to tell their story, which oftentimes was very traumatizing. Then when their cases went to court, as their child advocate, I testified in their court cases. There again, I'm thinking, wow, but for the grace of God, that could have been me. Growing up in the projects, both parents working. And of course, there's that phrase called latchkey kids, where you are spending a lot of time on your own, and anything can happen in the course of doing that. Well, that phenomenal experience of working with the Child Advocacy Center and these survivors of young abuse, of abuse with these young people, led me to do child abuse prevention training in the local counties in our area. And if you can believe it, and this is how God works, a young lady who was a social worker in one of the local school systems said, Janae, you've got a master's in guidance and counseling. Have you ever thought about working in the school system? And I said, absolutely not. But you know what?
So wait. You went and you got this master's in guidance and counseling, but you had no desire to work as a guidance counselor in the schools? Is that what you're saying?
Which sounds very bizarre, absolutely. But the program that was developed by Campbell University, a student could have gone on several different tracks. And the track that I went on was to work in mental health and work with individuals who had substance abuse issues. And so, of course, by the time my husband and I relocated to Georgia and I had the opportunity to work with these nonprofit agencies, I felt that was where my gift was, helping people to live a life of sobriety and be able to live life on a whole nother level. However, this opportunity presented itself and it was amazing. So, you never know why God is aligning your steps, but it's being aligned for a greater purpose. So in the course of entering the school system, I was a middle school counselor, high school counselor at an alternative school where there are at-risk kids. And at the point of being a counselor at the alternative school, I was afforded the opportunity to do decision-making and anger management groups for adjudicated juveniles. Guess what, Terrance? That then showed me, oh my, when I worked as a child advocate, when I work with these young teen moms, oftentimes these trials and tribulations lead young people into the justice system.
Yes.
And so it was a phenomenal experience. And I began to see that, oh my, God is really aligning my steps, unbeknownst to me, to do this opportunity. Well, I was able to do that for several years. And my principal at the time was a retired Air Force colonel. And he said, Janae, you ever thought about going in administration? Well, I had already spent time as a captain in the Army. And I said, yet again, Terrance, absolutely not. But God had different plans for me. So I've been an assistant principal at a suburban high school. I've been a principal of a rural high school. And now I'm the principal of an alternative school where I get to live my mission of being able to help young people who are at risk. Not bad students, just students who made a decision for which now they have a consequence. And so in 2014, it was placed on my heart, how can I make an even bigger impact on the world? And now my opportunity is to be able to work with people who are in transition, whether they've had lives that have started out with difficulty, or whether they've experienced a lack of confidence. And believe it or not, when I was younger, I definitely lacked a lot of confidence and had people who had mentored me along the way, have a husband who had inspired me to do the things that sometimes took away from the family. And so that's why now I have this joy of working with people in transition. Because what I have found, Terrance, is that while we go through life working, living to work, which is what I did, earning the degrees, working different jobs. So I was living to work, but then I realized, guess what? I am going through this journey in life, and I really want to begin to work to live more. And that's what I'm trying to inspire people to do on this journey.
Wow, that's a great phrase. Work to live more. We're
Yes, sir.
talking to Dr. Janae Bishop on the Next Level Living Show, and again, she's given us some great nuggets already, and we're only 15 minutes into the show. So definitely go into the Facebook chat room for the Next Level Living Show. Send us your comments. Send us any nuggets that you're getting wonderful takeaways from, and then we'll share that with the audience as we go through the broadcast.
Wonderful.
The one thing that stands out to me in what you were saying is that you were on a direction,
Yes,
you were on a path, but the destination you had in mind was completely different from the destination or this stop in the journey where you are right now.
correct.
How does that feel being where you are right now versus what you had thought about, or what did you thought your destination would be a few years ago?
Oh, that's an awesome question. In fact, when I look at my resume, I see a pattern that every 4 years I was changing either a position, going to a different school, different job, or working with nonprofits. In fact, currently I serve on the board of the National Alternative Ed Association, and I'm invigorated by that experience because I've never served on a national board before, but also I'm involved in being able to promote alternative ed throughout the United States. And so what I found over the years, Terrance, is all right, looking at my resume may look a little spotty, but now, 20, 21 years later, I realized that they were all part of the process of getting me to this point, of having a diverse background so that anyone who I come in contact with, there is some ability to relate to them, whether it is a girl from a family who, lived paycheck to paycheck in order to raise a family, a girl who grew up in the projects but wasn't caught up by the projects, a girl who went into the military in order to be able to have a better way of life, a girl who knew that only by having education is power and that can open doors. All of those things came into play. So even though looking at my resume, it seemed that some things didn't seem interrelated, the reality is now that I'm walking down this path, I realize that all of those experiences have helped me to be a blessing to others, even though I've been blessed in this process. I had an experience probably about 2009 where my mom was stricken with cancer. She was in stage 4 cancer, and she's doing well. Both my parents are in great health. But I tell you, Terrance and audience out there, that was a light bulb moment for me, because I went through my whole life just accomplishing goal after goal after goal after goal. My husband and sons were very patient with me and supported me. They realized happy wife, happy life. So a lot of people
Even in Georgia, that thing applies, huh?
Absolutely. But there was one story that I remember, and my husband reminded me about it a couple of years ago. I'm sitting at a football game for one of my sons. They both attended the high school I worked at that time. Sitting in the bleachers, typing on a laptop. One of my sons made a great play in the football game. And my husband asked me, "Hey, did you see that, Jay?" And I didn't. I was busy typing a paper because I was wanting to complete this particular degree. And I remember thinking at that point, Terrance, in addition to, again, when my mom became ill, that if God took me today or tomorrow, who would be the people most impacted by that? My loved ones, my family, my friends, and there would be 45 other people waiting to take my job. So I missed a very pivotal moment for my son at that point, and that's a moment I couldn't get back. And so I was determined that at this stage in my life, I was going to work with people to be able to enjoy the season as they're walking through this journey, rather than focusing on the destination. Enjoy the scenery of the journey, be fully present. And that's why even in my company, my logo reflects live life on purpose. Don't just live life, but live it purposefully so that you can get the most out of it. Tomorrow's not promised, and today is a gift, and our gift is meant to be shared.
Wow, love it, love it. And you again, you continue to hit on some great points in just telling your story, because there are many people, I would submit, that are probably listening to this broadcast either live or in replay mode, that are going to look at their lives and say, that's me.
Absolutely.
There's somebody else that's probably had that same exact story where they were trying to multitask. They were trying to
Yes.
be there for their children, but they also was trying to fulfill their job. They were
Yeah.
trying to be there for their spouse, but they were also trying to be there for their children. They were trying to have some time for themselves, but trying to put that time in with the 9,000 other things that they also were trying to do at the same time. And many
Absolutely.
times in life, we think success comes at the end of the destination, and
Mm,
we forget about the joy of the journey.
absolutely. Absolutely.
So you decided to write this book, and this it's behind you and to your right, and it's called How Much Joy is in Your Journey. So
Yes.
let me ask you, did the impetus for that book come from the story that you just shared about being at your son's game and missing the play?
Oh yes, absolutely. When my husband reminded me about my experience at my son's game, and then also even more currently than that, the experience with my mom, and the fact that she, almost was not with us today. And it was so interesting because at that time I was working on my doctoral degree. Now, a doctoral degree shouldn't have to take you 7 years, but it took me 7 years, Terrance. And when they
Hey.
say, oh, when they say it's a terminal degree, it is truly a terminal degree. But what was happening though was that while I was initially working on the degree, that's when my sons were in high school, and that's when I had this epiphany, this experience at the football game. Well, when my mom had became ill, we had just gone on a family cruise celebrating my parents' anniversary. It was now Labor Day. My father called me and said the doctor had said what the doctor had said about my mom having this rare cancer condition. And I tell you, Terrance and the audience, we went from my mom having been on a cruise with us to within a matter of weeks being in stage 4 cancer. And so when I got the call, I was the principal of a rural high school at the time. My husband rushed me to Charleston, South Carolina, which was about 3 hours away. And on the way there, the one thing I thought about was, I've got to finish this degree because if anything happens to my mom, this will be the one thing she'd never seen me finished in my life. In retrospect, because that was about 5, 6 years ago, I started thinking, here I was thinking I was about to lose my mom. And the thought in my mind, because I'd been so driven all my life, was this was going to be the one thing that she did not see me accomplish. That was a very revealing moment for me, that my priorities were not where they needed to be, and that I needed to be fully present in my family's life. In fact, now when my mom and I spend time together, one of the things that she has shared, and perhaps other families have heard parents to say this as well, she said, give me my flowers while I'm here.
Yes.
Oh, so there you go. I'm sure a
Yeah.
lot of your audience can relate to that. And so now I want to spend more time doing that, spending more time with my husband, spending more time with my sons who are now young adults, and spending more time with my family. There was one time my son came to visit, and he seen me on the bed. I had a lot of things spread out. As a matter of fact, working on this book was one of it. And my son said, Mom, you really like to work, don't you? Again, Terrance, that resonated with me. If God took me today or tomorrow, is that the memory I'm leaving my sons? That I like to work as opposed to being fully present with my family. That's thought provoking, and that's something that I wrestle with.
I got you. And it is something that many of us wrestle with, especially entrepreneurs. And many of the guests on the Next Level Living show are entrepreneurs. They're either coaches like yourself and me, they're either running their own businesses, or they're either getting started with their businesses, working their way from that job to that career.
Yes,
And because we're in those situations, because we're in that fast moving situation, we tend to spend so much time in activity that we forget to take time to just enjoy the things that are happening.
yes,
I think about it a lot of times, driving. We spend so much time getting in the car, punching in the destination, and getting to the destination that we don't look at the places we pass while
yes.
we're on the destination.
Yes.
And there's so many wonderful, beautiful things that are in between point A and point B that we never see.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you won't get those opportunities back again. And so when we live our lives on purpose and be fully present, then every experience becomes a major experience. We are able to give our gifts and talents to the world, but guess what? A gift is meant to be a present to the world. So be fully present with your family, be fully present with your kids, be fully present with your entrepreneurial endeavors. There was a coaching program that I had gone through as I had been experiencing my own personal metamorphosis, and I'm a desire map facilitator, as you had mentioned in the introduction. But one of the things that I was exposed to was the fact that so often we go through life trying to accomplish the goals, AKA our destination, and we lose sight of what's happening in the journey, the scenery, the things that we're experiencing along the way. And so in the course of going through this workshop, what we try to determine is, are we really going for the goal, or are we going for the feeling that once we achieve the goal manifests? And so that was very revealing to me, because I started to think back, looking at my resume, what was that feeling I had when I finished that bachelor's degree,
Right.
or that master's degree? What was that feeling? And I found that because I was the first person, the first grandchild of my family to actually go to college, my dad, his dad passed away young. And so my father came from a big family. He had to quit high school, but he wanted his kids to get an education. So I knew that with that being a dream for my parents, me getting the degree was critical. Now, getting the master's, the specialist, and the doctorate degree, those were all icing on the cake, but I felt that they were necessary. So my cousins, my brothers, the other kids in the family knew that it was definitely possible and it was attainable. But at the end of the day, why do we pursue those goals? It's for that feeling that we want. So in the course of doing that Desire Map workshop, I realized that there were 3 feelings that from this point forward, I was going to be manifesting in my life. The feeling of joy, the feeling of being inspired, and the feeling of being connected. So now any activity that I get involved in, if I feel joy, inspired, and connected, that will enable me to live fully present. And that's what I try to incorporate with individuals that I coach with as well.
Okay. Say those three goals again, and then tell us what each one of them means to you
Yeah.
in your journey.
Thank you for that question. My goals, or the best way for me to say it, having goals with soul. And for me to have a goal with soul, the goal would have to incorporate me feeling joy, me feeling inspired, and me feeling connected. Feeling joy for me means, you know how you are when you're around your family, and people say, wow, when we see you in business, you seem like a different person. But when you're around family, it's almost like a whole different language you have when you're around the loved
Right.
ones. That manifests joy for me. It's that unconditional feeling that when you walk into a room and everyone is happy to see you, that's an internal feeling that you feel of joy. The feeling of being inspired, when I take on a project that I know is going to make an impact on someone else's life, that I know I'm going to learn from, much like being with you this evening, learning from this process. This is the first time I participated in a process like this. This makes me feel both inspired and connected, especially when you gave the introduction about the social media, and I am a social media illiterate. So this is a learning curve.
I wouldn't say illiterate, just a little challenged. That's all.
Well, thank you so much. But I'm a work in progress, so I'm so thankful for that. But when I go through my life now and I'm having experiences that elicit either joy for me or the participant, or I feel inspired or connected, I realize that I am now able to be more fully present. And when I'm able to be more fully present, I'm able to be a better blessing, a bigger blessing for those whose path I cross. And in fact, Terrance, I really do believe all of us have a goal in life, which is to be of service. And so we all need to ask ourselves, how is someone else's life better because they crossed my path? And so as I wrote this book, How Much Joy Is in Your Journey, one really needs to focus on, as they go through it, how is someone else's life better because they crossed your path? And if you're not quite sure about that, then that means this is an opportunity for you to really evaluate the vision that you have for your own life and be able to manifest more joy for yourself.
I love it. I mean, there are so many things that you're saying that is resonating with me, and there is a connection in our story because we're both in a field where we're helping people.
Yes.
You are helping the youth now. Am helping homeless veterans now that are
Wonderful.
also in transition. So we're helping people do the same thing, just a different population that we're working with. And
Wonderful.
we're focusing more on how we feel about helping others than how we feel about something that we're doing ourselves. And that's important because I always tell people that, you know what, I want to leave you better off for have meeting me than
Awesome.
before you met me. I don't want to,
Wonderful.
I want you to be up here
Yes.
after you met me. I don't want to make you any lower. I don't even want to leave you the same because if I leave you the same, I didn't have an impact. And I want to have moves you to the next level of your greatness. So I love the alignment of the things that you're saying with the things that I'm doing, and it's more um, it's more proof that you don't have to be in the same space to have
Yes.
the same type of destination and to have the same type of purpose. So I thank you in advance for your purpose, and I know you are changing a lot of young people's lives. And there's and what I love about this show is when I have people tell their story and their testimony is because there's a young Janae out there somewhere that's watching you, and
Yes.
you may not even know it. And
Yes.
your journey, and while you may be focusing on the destination or used to focus on the destination, she's being inspired by your journey
Yes.
as you move towards your destination. And that's important because we never know who's watching us, and we never know what they're watching us for. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is such a powerful point, Terrance, that you've made. I know that I felt inspired to do what I'm doing now or the other opportunities that I've had in the past by seeing individuals before me. And so I decided I'm going to live a life that says, I can do that. Now, no one makes it in life by themselves. It's a matter of having a team, having individuals that can continue to encourage you, move you along. And I also realize in this course of living life that sometimes that may mean changing your circle and being able to aspire to those who are already at a place that you aspire to be as well. But at the end of the day, as we're lifting ourselves up, we need to be able to pull someone else up as well. My goal is to be able, now I don't want to leave tomorrow, but my goal is to leave this world a better place.
let's put that disclaimer out there. Okay, yeah.
That is so true. In fact, the other day I was doing a presentation with this amazing group of young women. They were 18 to 70 years old, believe it or not, Terrance. And
Wow.
yes, it was so inspiring. And the group was about, the focus was about stepping outside your comfort zone and how the one way to be able to move forward in life is to not just be stuck in the rut, but to step out of your comfort zone. So we're going to have a series of 4 sessions. That was the first. The next session is about manifesting discipline. The third session is going to be being a goal digger, GOAL, and digging
Yes.
into those goals in order to be able to accomplish things in life. And then we're going to culminate with developing a vision board for 2016. But what I experienced by being with this phenomenal group of women is that transitioning through our different seasons of life happen at all stages. There was one young lady who was beautiful, 70-year-old woman who talked about a friendship that she had for 50 years, that now 50 years later, she realizes she was probably more of a friend to this individual than this individual was to her. Can you imagine being at that golden season in your life and realizing now this epiphany? And so I've been very much inspired by that. And I think that as we go along this walk and we realize that we can learn from others, those are in your audience are learning from you, but I'm sure you've had many experiences of learning from your audience members as well, especially working with veterans.
Oh yeah, definitely. No matter how old you are, whether you're young or whether you're old, you can still deliver a message that somebody needs to hear, and you can still tell a story that somebody needs to know about. So yeah, I even though this show bears my name on it, I get knowledge each and every time I have a guest like yourself on the show, and it keeps me inspired, and it keeps me coming back each and every week wanting to do the same thing, because I know you have value. I know your message is not only needed, Dr. Janae, it's necessary. So
Absolutely, absolutely, and thank you so much for that vote of confidence and support. I really do appreciate it. Just like you mentioned earlier, who is that 17-year-old, a 27, 37, or 47-year-old Janae who is making a transition in their life? And if anything that I can say or do to be able to be of an inspiration to someone, I believe that that's my purpose, and I am just thrilled to be able to walk in my purpose. I've always felt I've been walking in my purpose. This is now just a different path on that journey, and I'm really thrilled by the process.
so let's talk about the current path of your journey, which is the book, Finding the Joy in Your Journey. Tell us why you decided to write this book, and what do you want our audience to really get out of purchasing this book?
Thank you. Well, this book is such an exciting labor of love. My book is titled How Much Joy is in Your Journey, Your Creative Guide to Your Fearless Vision. And for me, the word fearless really resonated in my life as well, because many of the things that I've done might have been the first time that someone in my family has done it. I might be in an audience where we have young girls looking at me and they're thinking, oh, if she can do that, maybe I can do it as well. So in writing this book, I wanted to be able to expose the reader to the opportunity of coaching. So the book is actually formatted based on what is coaching, what's special about coaching, how does it differ from going to a psychiatrist or psychologist, how might it benefit your life. I share with them that I operate from a coaching perspective that has a foundation in applied positive psychology. The premise of applied positive psychology is to be able to coach individuals based on their strengths. The research supports that when you operate in your life based on your strengths, it increases the likelihood of you being successful, because there are certain things that you do well. So let's work together to be able to manifest those things that you do well in order to accomplish your goals. So in the book, I address how coaching differs from psychology or psychiatry, and how using applied positive psychology can help that person accomplish their goals. I also clarify for them, what is it to have a vision in their life? There's also one chapter that talks about, is your life where you want it to be? How does your best life look? There also is a chapter that talks about, can you find joy at work? Sometimes finding joy at your day job is going to be more of an opportunity than one can anticipate, but it can be done. I firmly believe in every job that I've had, the theory of bloom where you are planted, because we don't know what the purpose is at the end of the road and what lesson we can learn from this job. We know that it might give us a good paycheck, or it might not give us a good paycheck, and we're wanting to supplement that. But at the end of the day, everything that happens in our life is to teach us something more about ourselves. So in the book, How Much Joy is in Your Journey, it focuses on how do you go about creating that vision for your life. And within that life, you're not going to be able to experience more joy. And so the book actually explores the 5 different areas of what the research says makes for a holistic life. And if you create a vision for yourself in those 5 different areas, and my coaching questions help you to explore that, then you are on the path for more joyful life.
So what are those 5 key areas that we should be creating visions for in our life? And is it one vision, or is it 5 different visions?
Oh, very good. I believe it could be one global vision, but then you're approaching that global vision like slices of a pie in those 5 different areas. So the research talks about it, and different individuals may call them different names. However, the research talks about the 5 areas as being spirituality, relationships, your work or your career, your leisure life, and your health and well-being. And so what we find, and as coaches, I'm sure that you realize this as well, Terrance, is that oftentimes different seasons in our life, different paths or journey that we travel in our life, we may be a little imbalanced. We may be having a certain period in our life where we're really hard charging in terms of our work and career, but then our relationships have faltered. Some of us, as we've gone through our lives pursuing career and goals, it may have may have sacrificed our marriage along the way, or a relationship with a child along the way. For others of us, as we've gone through accomplishing work, we're working late, and then we find out, like myself, I used to call myself a chocoholic, but now I call myself a chocolate connoisseur. But you got to watch it, because it ends up on your thighs. And then
Okay. Okay. All right. Well,
oh yes, and you're
well,
having
at
to
least
worry
you
about
came
that.
you came up with a good name for it, right?
That is true. That is true. So at different points in our life, and the audience may have heard the term work-life balance. I believe from some of the books that I've read, I enjoy reading Valerie Burton. I enjoy reading Martin Seligman, who actually was one of the individuals who helped to create applied positive psychology. That is there really such a thing as work-life balance? Or are we actually operating in a flow? And sometimes, based on the journey or based on the season we are in life, we may be flowing more in the direction of work and career and less in the area of family and relationships. Then different seasons, for example, those of us who may be experiencing an empty nest, we may now be flowing more in the area of health and wellness so that we can enjoy other experiences in our life. So life actually goes through flow. Some people feel work-life balance, but if we work to establish a vision or goals in the area of spirituality, relationships, work, leisure, health, and well-being, that is going to be key. And I mentioned leisure. Yesterday, I was at a meeting with a group of principals in our school system, and one young lady was about to retire. Young, she's, actually not even 50 yet, I don't believe. Came into education very young, and she shared, well, you know what, I think I'm going to stay in this industry for a few more years, because what am I going to do if I retired? And I asked her, what do you enjoy doing? And Terrance, she represents the typical person in transition. She said, you know what, I've spent so many years building my career and working. I'm not really clear on what I enjoy at this point in time. So I
Right.
get to, isn't that amazing? So I get to work with individuals who, in the course of building a life, they lost sight of who they really are. And that's what I work to help them regain that sight. And my book, How Much Joy Is in Your Journey, poses questions to the reader in these 5 areas so that they'd be able to answer for themselves. Where am I on the spectrum of my spirituality? Where am I on the spectrum of my leisure life? And those other areas as well.
Wow. We're talking to Dr. Janae Bishop. She is the author of How Much Joy Is in Your Journey. She is doing a great job of really pushing home the ideal of focusing on the journey and focusing on where you are in your journey. And, I submit to you, just in listening to you and in on my own coaching practice, talking to people, that especially people in transition, it's not that they don't know what their joy is or what they love to do, but they have forgotten what they love to do
Yes.
because of the journey that I call living someone else's dream. And
Ooh,
sometimes it's not intentional. Sometimes it's just life. Sometimes we become we get married and we have children, and instead of just being yourself, instead of just being Janae, now you're Janae the wife. Now you're Janae the mother. Now you're Janae the school principal. Now you're Janae the Army veteran. So we take on all these different roles, and we have to start wearing all these different hats, that the hat that we were originally born with, which was Janae or Terrance,
yes.
gets hidden under all the other hats that we have to put on top of our head. And
Yes.
then I was talking to a widower, a recent widower, last summer, and she was with her daughter, and her daughter was trying to get her to come out and do things, and she had a very similar story to what you just said, and her phrase was, I spent so much time doing things with my husband. I
Mm,
spent so much time doing things for my kids. I
yes.
spent so much time taking care of other people that now that I don't have to do that, I don't know what there is to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Is that familiar?
Oh, that sounds very familiar. And that can happen at different stages in your life. You know, once you have the empty nest, or you're in the process of changing jobs after having been in one job for many years, or, you know, individuals who were single and now getting married, or married and now becoming single, or individuals who are very happy being single, but they're trying to find that right person. And you're constantly asking yourself, what am I supposed to do? The other question that oftentimes I've had individuals to pose is, you know what, I've accomplished A, B, C, and D in my life. People on the outside looking in would say, hey, you've had an amazing life. You know, you got a great husband, you got terrific kids, every job that you wanted. It seems like things have manifested itself. And then you still reach a point where, as you've accomplished those goals, you're then asking, I'm still relatively young. God, is this all you intended for me? And people begin to ask that question that I'm sure you've heard as well, Terrance. What is my purpose? And so oftentimes when I speak to individuals, guess what? Our purpose may change. Our 30s, our 40s, and so on. And that's okay, because guess what? We're evolving. We're not the same people we were when we were a teenager, or 20 or 30 or 40 years old. And so it's okay for your purpose to change, because your experiences have changed. Your lifestyle may have changed. The important thing is to grow and embrace that change. And I oftentimes ask individuals, do you remember a time in your life when you couldn't wait to wake up that next morning to do that thing that you just felt passionate about, that even if you weren't being paid, if you can do it every day, you would feel fulfilled? What was that thing? And you'd be surprised how oftentimes, well, you wouldn't, because you're a phenomenal coach, how oftentimes that's why people need coaches, in order to be able to regain that vision of who they once were before they were all these other things for everyone else.
Yes, yes. And you know what? I'm going to disagree with you slightly on that purpose thing. I don't think, in my experience, I don't think that our purpose changes.
Yes.
I think the way we achieve our purpose changes.
Good point.
As we go through this thing called life, because the only thing that's constant in life is change. But if my purpose is still to help people, then, you know, maybe when I was I remember when I was 5 years old, I would help my great grandmother get up and out of her chair. I was helping. I remember when I was in high school, I would help other kids in class that had problems, and I knew how to do the work and they didn't. I was helping.
Wonderful.
I remember that when I became an adult, I started my first job. I was working for Liberty Mutual Insurance. I was helping people find insurance. And then as I elevated, I started working in geriatrics, and I started helping older people again. So the cycle came right back around to helping people that was older than myself. And now I'm at the point where I'm helping veterans who are transitioning from substance abuse back into the community, living a positive, purposeful life. So the overriding purpose of helping people didn't change, but the places and how I helped people changed. And I think that's what people have to embrace in their life. And I think that's the joy in the journey. It's not the fact that you've helped somebody that brings you joy. It's the fact that as you continue in your journey in your own life, that you can continue to find the joy of helping people, find the joy of coaching people, find the joy of teaching people how to cook, find the joy of speaking to audiences and changing lives, find the joy of being advocates for children in court as well as children in the school. The journey gives you endless opportunities to find the joy which is in your purpose. But like you say in the book, first you've got to find that vision. Tell us about that. Why is that so important?
Well, and thank you. And before I get to that, thank you so much, Terrance. I agree with you completely. And as I listen to you share your background and you being able to always be of help to individuals, you are 110% correct. It made me start to reflect on my own life as well. And even though my jobs may have been diverse, you're absolutely right. There was always that opportunity to be connected or to help someone else. It was just in a different capacity or in a different venue.
Yes.
Oh, so thank you so much for blessing us with that observation. Oh, and you know what? I was listening to you so hard, forgot the question.
You know, I have that effect on women. What can I
Yes,
say?
apparently.
So you talk about in your book that before you can find how much joy there is in your journey, you've got to know what your purpose is, and you've got to figure out what the vision is for your life. So
Yeah.
explain that and why that's so important to have that first before you can find that joy in your journey.
Oh, yes, thank you. Being able to create that vision for your life is like having a GPS. You mentioned earlier having a GPS. And of course, that GPS kind of helps us to navigate through the highways and byways and be able to get to our destination. Well, when you have a vision, that becomes similar to your roadmap. You have to have a blueprint. You mentioned earlier that many of your listeners are entrepreneurs or individuals who are aspiring to make a change in their life. To be an entrepreneur, you need to be able to have a business plan, and it may take on different types of formats, but you have to have something in which to guide your life. And what I have found in my own experience is that in developing a vision, even though the process may be tweaked, for example, 10 years ago, I might not have thought that I would be relying on social media as much as I am now, but that's the nature of the world that we live in. So now my vision has to incorporate, how do I feel joy, inspired, and connected to a greater audience that is captured in social media, as you had mentioned earlier. The vision allows you to have a plan to be able to move forward in your life. The challenge for many of us is to be able to create a vision or a plan that we can actually manifest and activate on a day-to-day basis. We can all establish a goal for ourselves, but if we don't have the plan on how we want to go forth and accomplish that goal, we're not going to be able to manifest the vision that we want to have in our lives. And that's where having coaches actually help. And they're all different kinds of coaches. You have business coaches, you have career coaches, development coaches, empowerment coaches. When you have someone who can help you to determine what that vision is based on your strengths or your interests. And there's different types of surveys and assessments that help you to determine that. But when you have someone who is able to help you walk through that process, that can shorten the time of you crystallizing your vision so that you can now establish your goals and establish your habits to reach the goals, and then be able to tweak the vision as you're going along. But you know, it's really important. It's really important, and it's really key. And I think it's whether you have mentors or coaches or psychiatrists or psychologists, it's important that whatever vision you have in your life, you realize you may not be able to accomplish it by yourself, but you don't have to.
Wow. And you said the vision is important, and I asked you this earlier, and I want you to expound on it a little bit more. The
Yeah.
vision should encompass all 5 areas, but you could have one overarching goal that encompasses those 5. What happens if someone creates a vision and they don't take into account those 5 different areas of the work-life flow?
That's perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine, because as I mentioned, life goes in flow. It ebbs and flows, much like the waves and rivers and the water that we see. And so, for example, let's say, for example, in 2016, a person's goal was that they wanted to start their own business. Then, of course, one of the areas of our holistic life is work and career. Well, one of the goals within their vision of starting their business may mean that to develop this area of their career, they're going to have to do some more reading or some more research, or reach out to individuals who have a skill and talent in that area. All right, you're going to probably spend a lot of time doing that because you're trying to accomplish that vision of developing your business in 2016. That may mean that for the first 3 months of 2016, you are going to be spending 75% of your time establishing that foundation, that plan for your business for 2016. That may mean then that you're going to have a smaller percentage of your time that you're spending in leisure. You can't clone yourself and be every place at all times. If you are researching and reading and developing your business, then that may mean you can go to the movies with your homies and your friends and your girlfriends every Saturday of the month, when that could be time that you're researching. So in all actuality, it's okay that sometimes that life pie, that whole life pie that we're looking at, may show that 70% is going towards work in 2016. And then you have a small slice that's going to spirituality. You have a slice that's going to relationship. But we have to make sure that at some point in time, we carve out little bits in time to accomplish little things in those areas, even though one big area may take up most of our time for 2016.
I love it. So we're not going to give the whole book away because we want them to buy the book. So let's just get to, if there was one takeaway that you wanted my audience and your future readers to get from How Much Joy is in Your Journey, what would that one takeaway be?
That one takeaway would be, you are the master of your own destiny and you can create it. And part of creating it is by developing a vision for yourself. That would be the takeaway. And my book offers that blueprint.
All right. So tell us, when can we expect to see the book, and how can we get a copy of the book for ourselves? And I know it's before it gets on the New York bestsellers list.
From your mouth to God's ears.
Okay, there you go.
Well, right now, I am so excited by the fact that we will be launching the book next month in March. And I would love for individuals to contact me by email at Janet, Janet, at havejoyllc.com. Because if you email me and you mention Terrance's show, then I'll be glad to be able to go ahead and forward to you a PDF version of one of the chapters in the book, and that chapter will be creating your vision. That is the second chapter of the book. It'll help to open up your perspective, and once the book is available for pre-selling, I'll reach out to you, get that information to you, and have you to be able to have an amazing 2016. Hopefully by the summer, I will also have created a companion journal so that as individuals use my book and go through the self-coaching opportunity, they'll be able to also utilize the journal and reflect where they are now, go back and look at where they are in this particular time frame 3 months from now, and maybe 1 year from now. Also, I want to be able, if you reach out to me by email at Janet, Janet at havejoyllc.com, I'd love to offer you the opportunity to participate in the upcoming teleseminar. I have one teleseminar that's called Take Time for Your Life, which is based on self-care, which all of us in transition sometimes fall by the wayside in. There's also one that is based on Valerie Burton's book called Successful People Think Differently. And that is one that a number of individuals have enjoyed going through. And then additionally, I hope that you will look at those opportunities as opportunities to help you move through this phase in your life to having a better life and creating a greater vision and ultimately experiencing more joy.
Wow, fascinating. So all they have to do is email you at Janet, Janet, at havejoyllc.com. And
Yeah.
not only will they be able to have a deeper conversation with you and be on your list for when the book comes out, but they get a sneak peek, a sneak chapter of the book sent to them right now. Is that what you're saying, Janae?
That is what I'm saying.
Hey, well, you can't beat that with a stick. So we
Absolutely.
definitely want you guys who are watching live or watching in replay mode to go to Janet, Janet, at havejoyllc.com so that you can get your sneak peek copy before the book comes out. You will already be able to tell people about something that's in the book before it even hits the shelves, about how they can have so much more joy in their journey. Dr. Janae, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. It's been a pleasure getting to know you a little bit more and knowing that our stories are running a similar path. And of course, when the book is ready for release, we want you to come back on the show and give us more information and more tidbits about the book. Would you do that for us?
Oh, it would be my blessing. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Janae Bishop. the author of How Much Joy is in Your Journey. Again, reach out to her at Janet, Janet, at havejoyllc.com to get your PDF version of one of the chapters that's already in the book.
Yes.
Well, family, as always, that is a wrap. But before I leave you, I want to leave you with the unstoppable thought from the week. You know, Dr. Janae said three things that really makes her feel good and makes that joy in her life. And she says it's having joy, she gets inspired, and she feels connected. If she has those three things in her life, then she knows that she's living her life on purpose. So I want to ask you, what are you connected to?
Mm.
Are you connected to your family, your immediate and your extended family? Are you
Mhm.
connected to your church? Are you connected to a group that you feel that connection and that you have like-minded thoughts and desires with? Are you doing anything in your life that inspires you? that
Mm.
that keeps you up late at night and makes you want to jump up early in the morning because you're just full of renewed energy every time you think about this thing or you look at that uh, thing that you're doing. Are you inspired? And is what you're doing right now bringing you joy?
Yes.
Are you just driving through life blindly, or are you taking a look at the scenery as you pass by? Because in most things in life, you only get to pass by it one time. And if you miss it, it's gone.
Yes.
So I acknowledge the fact that we've got to do things on a day to day basis. Yes, I understand that life makes us do these things. But I want you, I encourage you, I implore you to take time to not just focus on the destination, but to focus on the journey. If you focus on the journey while you're getting to your destination,
Mhm.
you'll have joy all along the way. That's our time. Thank you for tuning into the Next Level Living Show, where we talk to ordinary people doing extraordinary things to live their life on the next level. And until we connect again, I don't want you to just have a great week. I want you to have an unstoppable week. And here's to living your life on the next level.